Picture a life where pain meant death, and being poor don't scare you. A life where you only care about living virtuously and reach your full potential. This is the main idea of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius was the Stoic scholar is known for his work. Thinks about what it means to be a great person could be vague, but Marcus is one of the ones most likely to deserve. This title in history isn't a self-help movie, but the idea Marcus brought up can deal with many issues of today, and I want to show you how to understand what he taught. Let's look at the historical background. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome. He was the last of from 161 AD to 180 AD. 5 emperors, who were said to be good, which was in charge during the Pax Roman times, were mostly peaceful, and Roman Empire was stable during his death marked the end of Pax Roman. During his reign, Marcus had to deal with a lot of problems that put his strong will to the test, such as the Marvel animated series Manic Wars, many fights with Germanic groups, and the Antonine Plague was a terrible disease. Pandemic that had a big effect on the empire because Marcus was the most powerful man in the world with the Romans had little idea of lands that were not part of their empire. He was the leader of the world he was the most powerful man in his time. He could give in to any desire, but he decided not to. Rome's life as a path of virtue emperor was the same thing as hedonism. Taking part in money, sex, wine, and other such pleasures and excesses where almost any vice you can think of was expected, so Alexander the Great could reach him. Not limited by customs in money law or ethics, and nothing could stop him from living out his wildest wants. But despite these limitless, Marcus made the choice to live a life of virtue. He picked to always be good. During his 19-year reign, he was good doesn't make you great by itself, but imagine having to deal with endless temptations and going for virtue instead of acclaim or of recognition, but only because they want to be good. That's really impressive. Think about it. If you had been in his job for almost 20 years, could you say no to temptation every day? Being aware that there would be no consequences for anything you did, what would you do? How would you act? I know I'm not able to follow the lead set by Marcus. Let us look into his personal life. Thoughts written in his journal, his thoughts, which show how he used Stoic ideas in his daily life. Meditations is a book that Marcus Aurelius wrote. Was first his personal journal. It records how he found his way through life, split into 12 parts that cover about 150 pages, and the book's name was Meditations, given by publishers. But Marcus never did thought these works would be read. Some said they were his deepest vows and faiths, even though written meditations that happen on their own are one of the strongest and most moving books ever made. The best way to enjoy Meditations is to read it for yourself. You can get copies in almost every library and bookshops around the world. There are a few ideas for this video. Marcus Aurelius thought it was important to look into being in tune with nature by nature. He talked about animals and plants, but also the way the world works by itself. In order to do their job, trees grow. They get as big and pretty as they can't for praise or approval, but because that's how they are. The caterpillar turns into a butterfly, and then a weak chick grows into an eagle in no time at all. Want to, but because they are meant to. Marcus thought the same thing about people. Must reach their full ability, which he didn't do. Are interested in getting rich or thanks nature for making you human, and is your job to be the nicest and most good person Marcus could find. This was the highest level of human achievement, and promise that wasn't met was the darkest place someone could go to find a key. A Stoic concept says that even if you can't outside events, that you can manage how you feel about them no matter what. When this happens, a good person weathers the storm and lives their best life. This is your job as a person. Potential, as Marcus the Great dealt with many problems, such as crime and hardship. Most of all, he thought that evil, wicked, or there were bad people in our nature wants a world without them, as if you want a plant without thorns. Bad people do exist, and you will meet them. Marcus thought people should be kind, and thought people would never do something on purpose, did wrong because they didn't know any better. While you can teach them that it's not. It's always possible, and you can't decide if the world sends you wicked or there are lazy people, and you can't always help them. Marcus told them to look inside. kept telling himself that he had flaws too and had no right to judge other people. He might be on a different day. The stupid one, sometimes you just do not see the whole picture, the thief who steals to feed his family. You might not be wrong, but you don't understand, so don't blame him. He thought we're all meant to be together, like dogs and cats eat fruit from trees. Animals eat the fruit that trees grow. We are made to feed worms, living things that die. It's our job to help each other. Not doing that is the only real in life. We all have to deal with loss. Marcus was no different, just as bad people are going to be around all the time. In the face of trouble, you can't decide what will happen, but you can how you respond. Marcus told them not to pray to keep bad things from happening because that's not useful. Instead, get ready to meet. When bad things happen, don't feel bad about it. For yourself or mope, feel lucky that you have the strength and tools to make it through. Be brave in the face of events and keep going when you do. You think you'll see that what seemed bad there was a chance to get ahead, and don't give up when bad things happen. Move forward. Complain, act, and bear it. When an unbearable event happens, don't show off. You say that all men die, but not all of them do. Marcus was complaining despite being rich. Aurelius didn't think about things that people owned. As naturally bad, he was careful with how he felt about his things. Anyone could have had anything. Money, art, wine. But he didn't want to dream of, these real things don't mean anything. And don't reach your full ability. Think about, keep going and be thankful for what you have. But don't to the point where you would be feeling sad if they disappeared. These things don't make you better, or you have more promise than that. He thought about it for a long time, seeing death as a normal part of life. His ideas were simple. It's going to happen. Don't be afraid of death or dying. Nature has told us to do well and reach our could live, but also could die. Death is a job while you're here. Live fully. Kindly do good things and then die the way death is. Marcus along with us as part of our job in nature. Stoicism had its roots in getting along with others. The Stoics had a lot of different beliefs. Things that talk about reasoning, ethics, and more. Their theory is based on the difference between pleasure and happiness, money, fame, and success, a short-lived pleasure. But real happiness is a deeper state of being. From the inside doesn't come from things in this world to live a good life, to be happy and always make yourself better. The only not reaching your goals is real loss. Being great at what you do is your job, and in the end, Stoicism teaches us about nature. That is where real knowledge and goodness come from, focusing on life in harmony with nature, our thoughts about what we can do. And Stoicism's main lesson is how to act. That the only things we can control are what we think and do, and that we should try to live a good life. Taking into account reason, the main ideals include being wise. Courage, fairness, and moderation in their fear isn't taking their morals into account. The tasks hurt, death, poverty, or life's different tasks don't scare. What they really fear is letting themselves down and failing to. He once said the best thing: be fully human. Being different from him is payback. Did the hurt one important example? Most of Marcus's toughness was shown during his general Itus cause betrayed him in AD 175, proclaimed himself emperor, and led a revolt against Marcus. Julius Caesar did this act of crime as a being betrayed so deeply by Cassius. Of course, trusty general and close ally Marcus was hurt and mad at first. The response might have been to get even, to beat up Cassius and show him what's wrong. Of him, though, Marcus chose to take a new way of doing things while staying true to his following Stoic ideals instead of reacting. He did it quickly and out of anger. Keeping his cool and being honest, he kept running the government well. Putting the health of the empire first instead of being filled with thoughts of revenge, he told his troops to move up to the rebels with the plan to put down the rebellion, but not with cruel behavior when Cassius was killed by his own men. Before Marcus could get to him, the Marcus could tell from how the emperor responded, did not enjoy the death of his rival. He decided to be kind instead, and feel free to forgive those who helped Cassius. He even felt sad about the death of his old friend, expressing his opinion, that Marcus getting even wasn't the answer. Aurelius chose to get to the top of the A betrayal, showing kindness and understanding, instead of keeping up a cycle of bloodshed and revenge. This event shows Marcus Aurelius's lesson that being different from them is the best way to get back at them, who caused the harm by acting with honor and kindness. Marcus Aurelius stayed true to himself and showed what a strong person he was. He led by example for people of his time, and to show future generations that the real power is not in getting even, but in having the traits to keep up even in the let's talk about the face of betrayal. This quote changes the soul's color with the color of its thoughts. Even though the rough patches of his reign, Marcus kept an upbeat attitude. Being aware that his thoughts shaped his soul, he had to deal with difficult problems, including wars on many fronts, a terrible disease, and political unrest. In these situations, it could have easily made him feel hopeless and bad things, but Marcus Aurelius understood how important it was to a good and cheerful attitude, knowing that his thoughts would make him who he is, and finally what he did in the middle while Marcus was in the Manic Wars, long periods of time away from Rome, which led to troops in hard conditions, the fear of battle, the weight of authority, and the space between him and family could have been too much for him to handle. Bad thoughts. But instead of giving in to these forces, he chose to keep a mindset of everyday Marcus, show strength and virtue involved in actions that helped. He kept up good thoughts every day. Routine of thinking about yourself and writing in a diary that later made him famous work in these papers. He said himself how important virtues are with things like bravery, patience, and smarts. Thought about the temporary nature of life, how important every moment is, and the value of staying true to one's beliefs by choosing to do what? Focus on good and happy thoughts. He built up a strong spirit in his soul, took on the color of these ideas that helped him lead with smarts and honesty. In his leadership during rough times was marked by being able to stay calm, collected, and fair, motivating his men. And people like this story from the life of Augustus shows the deep effect of our ideas about our health and happiness in general acts by encouraging good, and he was able to think of good things, stay true to himself, and lead work well, even in the toughest situations that this story shows how important inner work is, and using self-reflection to grow as a person, and the things we think really make us who we are, how we get around in the world. Let's talk about one of his most famous sayings. Spend more time talking about what a good man is. Should be one. During the amino acid disaster, Marcus showed toughness through firmness and kindness. What people did to spread fear and panic as resources ran out, normal life was woke up. Politicians and thinkers had endless arguments about what it meant, and the best thing to do to be a good person and boss in such rather than getting caught up in these arguments, he decided to make a choice, thinking that what they did spoke louder than he stressed, setting a good model. Even though it put him in danger, he kept going. To do his job, which included handling the right now, what his people need. Marcus' public health was planned and paid for measures, such as attempts to clean up and medical help to stop the disease from spreading. Because of the disease, he showing kindness and care by giving help to those who have been affected, money to help the families of the dead, and making sure that aid was spread out fairly and effectively. His actions showed the Stoic values he held dear: duty, strength, and the general good. By Aurelius, chose to act over argue. Showed that what makes a good leader is not by intellectual talks, but by they care about the health and happiness of. He showed their people that true being good means living a good life. Especially in times of trouble, his answer to the anonymous plague earned the respect and love of his people of his time, saw him as this is a beacon of security and virtue. His behaviors said a lot about him, showing through traits that true what morals and leadership are about, showing values by being decisive. And this example of compassionate behavior comes from Marcus Aurelius's life, shows how important it is to live by your ideals, by being clear about what needed to be done, and by behaving with honesty. He set an example of idea of what a good person should be like. This story really makes you think about, we should try to live up to the virtues we want to make a difference for the better through what we do, instead of just arguing about their worth. Let's move on. This is one of my favorite Mark Aurelius when you wake up in the morning. Think about how lucky you are to be alive to think about, enjoy, and love these. These words by Marcus Aurelius sum up a practice that helped him get through the threats to his rule as a Spartan Roman emperor. Picture Marcus getting up early. On a cold, foggy morning, he was in his tent. It's cold outside, and the sounds of soldiers moving outside are a sign that beginning of a new day, instead of right away starting the day's tasks. Marcus takes some time to be alone. He stands up, shuts his eyes, and takes deep breaths, and thinks about having the chance to be living makes him feel a deep thankful for the new day, and Marcus sees this as a chance to do his best, about his ability to think and make. He feels lucky that he can make decisions, use his brain to figure things out, and lead his people as he pulls his robe closer around him. He enjoys having it around him. Warmth, and hears the bird far away. Song, these easy things make him feel he feels at peace and happy. He thinks about his family in Rome. He misses them very much, but he feels thankful for their love and help. The thought makes his heart feel warm. Giving him the strength to deal with the trouble is on the way when Marcus leaves. Of his tent, he smiles and says hello to his troops, telling them to also think about the good things in there, has a good attitude and lives contagious, lifting their spirits even though the cold and the fights that were coming. Marcus finds times during the day to enjoy the good things in his life. Whether he was talking about tactics with his men or talk to generals, he stops for a moment to be thankful for this. His habit helps him stay calm and aware. Making his leadership better one night, Marcus was tired and worn out after a long day. Brings his men together around the campfire. He gives an easy but important message. They should remember how, every morning, they're lucky to still be alive to think about it. Enjoy and love this way of thinking. He can help them and give them strength they get through even the worst times. The soldiers listen carefully and take his heart, that they start their own practice of grieving and finding happiness. Every day, find little things to be grateful for. A change in how they feel helps them stay strong. And stuck together even when things went wrong by focusing on being thankful, Marcus kept his strength up and motivated those close to him. His practice of gratitude for life's gifts showed that even when things are bad, there's always something to be thankful for. Lesson on how to get strength from being thankful still motivates people today in the end, Marcus Aurelius's life. And there is timeless wisdom in lessons that can help us get through our own problems by trying to live a good life, focusing on what we can do and how to react to ads. Together, we can make the world a better place. Marcus, living a full and worthwhile life. The example of Marcus Aurelius shows us that greatness comes from inside, by living a life that is in line with our greatest ideals. In case you like this look into, please like this if you find Stoicism inspiring. Like the video? Follow the channel for more. Share your philosophical thoughts and leave your thoughts in the space below. Your engaging with you helps us keep showing you information that makes your life better. Thank you for seeing.